Hello, we are going to start William Blake. He was a famous pre-romantic poet, a visionary poet, and we can say a forerunner of the negative effects of the Industrial Revolution. Some information about his life. He was born into a family of very humble origin in 1757. He was trained as an engraver and he practiced this craft until he died. But he didn't earn much money as well. He was deeply aware of the great political and social issues of his age, and he was a political free thinker. He supported the French Revolution and remained a radical throughout his life. So you know that the ideas of the French Revolution were very important and spread hope to all the humble, the poor people, but to everybody for social justice. He had a strong sense of religion, and the most important literary influence in his life was the Bible. He thought that everything is written in the Bible. He claimed he had visions, well, probably because poor William Blake, he was starving, and he died in 1827. Blake as a poet, both in terms of his personal vision and technique, he was contemporary of the American War of Independence and of the French Revolution, so he supported the abolition of slavery and fought for egalitarian principle and social justice. He explored the timeless struggle between the role of law and reason and the powers of love and imagination. He used symbols as part of a deliberate attempt to avoid any kind of realism. It is the real world that prevents man from perceiving the greater reality that lies behind him, and imagination is the gift the poet has, along with God and the child, to go beyond reality, because the real truth is beyond reality, and we can feel it only if we use or if we keep our imagination. Blake the artist studied the works of Raphael and Michelangelo, and so his technique is very similar to the one by Michelangelo. From him, he learned the technique of representing exaggerating muscular bodies, and this is very well painted you got some pictures in your book. He studied the monuments in the old churches of London, particularly Westminster Abbey, and later he could also study at the Royal Academy of Art. This is Westminster Abbey. As an artist, he connected visual arts and writings, creating illuminated printing, a combination of picture and poetic text. This means that he wrote a poem, and he quite always printed picture along with the poem to illuminate, to show the message of the poem. He considered the two aspects as a counterpart of each other. He also made many illustrations for other authors' works, such as Milton's Paradise Lost. Blake the artist, many of his paintings dealt with religious subjects, also drew illustrations for the Bible and a cycle of drawings inspired by Dante's Divine Comedy. So if one day you go to London, please go to Tate Gallery, not to Tate, also to Tate Modern, but to Tate Gallery you can see Blake's paintings and engravings. We're going to skip this, but yes, remember that Blake was a complete artist, and he was very, very careful in printing, and in choosing the correct color to show the message of his poems. I have to skip this, but have a look at the paintings because they are really powerful. Again, yes, all the styles, the pictures have got allegorical meanings, but we have to skip this. And we have to focus on Blake as a poet. What are the complementary opposites? Well, he was a strong believer of religion, of God, but he believed in the reality of a spiritual world. So he thought that Christianity was responsible for the fragmentation of consciousness and the dualism characterizing man's life. This means that Christianity spoiled, Catholicism actually spoiled in a way what we receive from God. And so we carry that sense of dirt, which is not the message of God or Jesus Christ. And so he had a vision made up of complementary opposites, and this is very important to understand Blake's poetry. So he claimed that good and evil, male and female, reason and imagination, cruelty and kindness go together. He stated that without contraries there is no progression. The possibility of progress is situated in the tension between contraries. So attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are necessary to human existence. So the two states coexist in the human being and in the creator. So the creator can be at the same time the God of love and innocence and the God of energy and violence. We are going to understand this much better in the two poems from Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience, especially with the Lamb and the Tiger. Blake considered imagination as the means through which man can know the world. He did not believe in man's rationality. For him, the representative of a rationalistic and materialistic philosophy were great heretics, since they denied the value of faith and intuition. For him, faith and intuition were the only source of true knowledge, and he denied the truth of sensory experience. The internal mind really builds the external world that man sees. Okay, something really interior. So who is the poet according to William Blake? So the poet becomes a sort of prophet who can see more deeply into reality and who also tries to warn man against the evils of society. And this is very similar to the message of Wordsworth and Coleridge. So he wrote Songs of Innocence in 1789, just before the breakout of the French Revolution, and Songs of Innocence during the period of terror. Songs of Innocence is written in the pastoral mode with simple imagery. It deals with childhood and as the symbol of innocence, and the words are carefully chosen because the letters are sweet, like I'll, and while Songs of Experience is more complex and pessimistic, but the poems pair those of Songs of Innocence. So Songs of Innocence are optimistic, sweet, peaceful. Songs of Experience are pessimistic. The tone is harsh, and all the words chosen are characterized by, harsh and hard noises. The world of innocence is full of joy and happiness, while the world of experience is full of cruelty and injustice. The child becomes the object of Blake's poetry because he is closer than the adult to the original state of harmony with nature. He's innocent, he's close to God. Blake uses complex symbolism. However, his language and syntax are quite simple. He often adopts an apparently naive style, using a plain Anglo-Saxon vocabulary, as well as repetition, refrains, and regular stress patterns which are typical of ballads, children's songs, and hymns. So to him, a lamb or a tiger, a chimney sweeper or a London street were visions, and they carried symbols. They were never to be taken at their face value. So we've got, for example, child was a symbol of innocence, father of experience, and Christ even of higher innocence. London is very important. We're going to study this wonderful poem. The theme is the causes of man's lack of freedom. The key images of the poem are the mind-forged manacles. So there are three victims, the chimney sweeper, the soldiers, and the prostitute. Well, we are going to read this together because, now this video is just an introduction. What are the mind-forged manacles? Le manette che costringono la mente a diventare quello che vuole la società. The Lamb. The theme are innocence and the creation of God, and the key images are the Lamb, the Child, and the Christ. Again, my dear students, we are going to read this together in class. And also the tiger. It's about the power of creation, and the key images are the tiger seen by Blake as a poetic imagination. So I'm just going to tell you this. At the beginning of the Lamb is very sweet. It starts with a question. Little lamb, who made thee? Do you know who made thee, gave thee feed and feed you joy by the stream, etc., etc. Little lamb, little lamb. So it's full of repetition, it's full of questions. And the answer is, God made thee. While the tiger is the tone, the word chosen are very harsh. So I'm just reading the beginning. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the middle. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame that fearful symmetry? But we're going to read this together because I want, to interact with you. And the tiger is characterized by questions, 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 and there is no answer. Why? Well, yes, because everybody wonders why God, if God is the God of good, and He wants happiness and the goodness for us, why did He create also the evil and violence, etc., etc., etc.? So this is to understand the complementary opposites. We could not understand good if we don't have a counterpart of the evil, and we are free to choose between good and evil. So really Blake was and is a very important poet still for us today, because he was a visionary, and for many themes, for many poems, he is still very modern. But yes, it's difficult for me again not to interact with you. So I'm going to stop here, and we're going to speak about this and to read the two poems, The Lamb and the Tiger, in class together.